GOP's China Task Force, Jim Banks. Congressman, it's good to have you this morning. Thanks very much for joining us.
Hey, Maria, great to be with you.
So you are part of the task force that GOP leader Kevin McCarthy announced yesterday. Tell us what you plan to do. Now we see that Chinese officials are saying they will buy the $250 billion worth of commodities and keep their end of the deal. But I know that there are at least 60 bills right now in Congress to keep China accountable for the coronavirus downplaying. Tell us about that.
Well, that's exactly right. I can tell you that the American people expect us as members of Congress to do our part to hold China accountable. Now, what's incredible about the China Task Force is that Republican leader Kevin McCarthy tried to put this together several months ago. He had an agreement with Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker, to make it a bipartisan task force. And several months ago, when Kevin McCarthy went to Speaker Pelosi and said, "Here are the names of who I want to appoint," the Speaker backed off. Kevin tried to get the Speaker to come back to the table and get Democrat members to join Republican members to come together as a clearinghouse with this task force to work on issues to address the China threat. Now, Maria, I know you and I agree China is the greatest existential threat that America faces today, both economically and militarily. The fact that Democrats won't come to the table and work with Republicans to address that threat is shameful and unfortunate. But we're going to do our part. That's why McCarthy put together this task force, announced it yesterday with a dozen or so members. We're going to work on legislation and continue to introduce this Congress to move forward to address everything from our economic position and supporting this president with better trade deals to addressing the national security threat that China poses today.
And you are leading one of those bills called the Restricting Predatory Acquisition During COVID-19 Act. You're calling for increased monitoring of China's acquisition of U.S. companies. You've also been named to the task force, as you said, by Kevin McCarthy. This committee is overseeing the policy on China. But let me ask you about these acquisitions, because this is one of the Chinese Communist Party's key strategies. Buy up companies in Silicon Valley in particular, so they will be forced to transfer all their technology to their Chinese Communist Party partner. And in a couple of years, you're probably going to see a competitor in exactly what you just acquired, only it will be a Chinese competitor. Is that the kind of acquisition that you have the red flags on?
Yeah, the bottom line here, Maria, is that China should never be able to profit off of a pandemic that was of their own making, and that's exactly what they're trying to do. They're trying to seize the moment while America's economy is on its knees to swoop in and acquire American innovation and American intellectual property and take it back to China while they allow these American businesses that they acquire to go out of business. So this piece of legislation that I introduced last week would boost CFIUS and boost its jurisdiction to crack down on any Chinese investment over 51% in American companies and stop those acquisitions from happening before they start.
Yeah, I mean, what I don't understand is why your colleagues on the left would not want to be in partner with you. I mean, House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy came on the program yesterday to try to move this forward. He previewed his task force that he was going to announce. But here's what he said about the partnership in Congress. Watch this.
One thing has become very clear. China's cover-up directly led to this crisis. It follows the same threatening pattern of behavior we have seen from the Chinese Communist Party for years. Something that has long been a bipartisan consensus in Washington. Well, we cannot wait any longer. The stakes are too high to sit idly by.
So, Congressman, I don't understand why your colleagues on the left would not want to be part of this. Why would they downplay what China's behavior has been when it's pretty obvious?
Well, what's even more incredible than that, Maria, is that for 30 years, Nancy Pelosi was one of the biggest China hawks in Congress. She left that at the door the day that Donald Trump got elected. I've worked on China-related issues with Democrat colleagues. I've traveled with a focus on studying the China threat with my Democrat colleagues. But now, when the rubber meets the road and it's time to do something about the China threat, and the American people are begging us to do that, Democrats are more interested in beating up on the president and making the president look bad than they are in joining Republicans in addressing the biggest threat that we face today. It's shameful. It's unfortunate, but Republicans are going to continue to do their part. And I believe this will be one of the major issues that's on the ballot in the November election.
Well, that is a sad state of affairs. I agree with you. It is